Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sasha. Today we're going to be doing a library haul. I will hopefully be having more library hauls coming up in future videos because I'm doing a personal challenge where I try and read all of my NetGalley arcs. NetGalley is a website that provides reviewers, book content creators, librarians, other authors, publishers, anyone who works in or deals with book spaces and book content and trying to get new books into the hands and minds of book consumers. It's a website that provides early copies of these books for free in exchange for honest, unbiased reviews. So I was a big user of NetGalley back in 2018, 2019, and 2020 when I was working as a library assistant in a public library and then later as a media specialist in an elementary school library. So back then I had requested a lot of different arcs and I had done an okay job at getting reviews of those submitted. Then once everything happened in 2020, I had almost 2 years where I was having so much trouble reading or finishing books. It was a really extremely hard time for me. So I'm trying to make up for it now and trying to read all of the things that I can and get my reviews out. It's the very least I can do for being so very late. And I thought, since I am trying to get these reviews out, what better way than to also support my library? So I do have electronic Kindle versions of all of these books, but when you check out books from your library, it does go into the year-end statistics and tells your library which books they should keep, which sort of genre is really popular at their locations, and how many patrons are using their library, what all of the data tells them that they can then give to the people who sort of deal with giving the libraries money every year for purchasing new books. So the more books we can check out and read does help your local library. So always keep that in mind. Also, if you wanted me to do a video sort of going over some digital versions of the library you may have access to, I'd be more than happy to do that at some point. You can leave me a comment, let me know if that would be something you're interested in. So today's video, I'm just going to be going through all of the books that I picked up from my library that are also NetGalley arcs. I figured we can just go over genre. I'll briefly tell you what either the synopsis on the back of the book says, or from my own memory and recollection, why I picked it, and we'll just sort of go from there. So I'm going to start with my young adult novels. I have young adult, I have some adult fantasy, and then I have some like historical fiction and just women's literature, those kind of things. So let's start up with young adult first. The first book I want to talk about is Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Potson. I do own Geekerella and have already read and I believe reviewed that book from this author. I absolutely loved it at the time. This was a book that when I did request it, I almost finished it. I literally had, I think, like 2 chapters left, and I still vividly remember so much of the book the first time that I read it, but I wasn't able to finish it because I had such a bad mental block about finishing books. So I am rereading this one right now. I'm only 20 pages in. I literally just started it this morning. So let's read the synopsis and what this one is about. To my knowledge, this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So it says Rosie Thorne is stuck on her college application essay in her small town and on that mysterious General Sand cosplayer she met at a lexicon. Most of all, she's stuck in her grief over her mother's death. Her only solace was her late mother's library of rare Starfield novels, which they sold to pay off hospital bills. Vance Raines has been Hollywood royalty for as long as he can remember, with all the privilege and scrutiny that entails. When a tabloid scandal catches up to him, he's forced to hide out somewhere the paparazzi would never expect to find him. Small town USA. At least there's a library in the house. Too bad he doesn't read. When Rosie and Vance's paths collide and a rare book is accidentally destroyed, Rosie finds herself working to repay the debt. The only problem, Rosie can't stand Vance, and he's not a fan of her either. So this was super sweet, super cute the first time around. I'm hoping I enjoy it just as much the second time. This deals a lot with fan culture as well, which as a person who, as you can see from my surroundings in my room, I'm really big into K-pop fan culture, and there's so much in this that translates to what we experience as K-pop fans or fans of any media really, and that's why I'm so drawn to this story. Up next is potentially my most anticipated read out of this entire selection. It's The Storm Crow by Kaylin Josephson. This cover is just stunning. I've been so into birds recently, crows, ravens, corvids in general. I just think they're so beautiful and so fascinating, especially being a brand ambassador for Two Crow Collective. I feel like that really pushed me over the edge, and I've been just like, there's a crow, and now I just see them everywhere. So let's read what this fantasy is about. I honestly don't remember, so this will be a refresher for me as well. I just know that I'm so excited. And typically, I go into books only liking to know like one thing about it, like the genre. And that's all I want to know. I will have read the synopsis when I first select the book, but then after that, I like it to just leave my memory so I can be totally surprised. So, there's a fun map already as soon as you open it. Oh my gosh. A storm is rising. In the tropical kingdom of Rodair, elemental crows are part of every aspect of life, until the Aleutian Empire invades, destroying all the crows and bringing Rodair to its knees. That terrible night has thrown Princess Anethea into a deep depression. Her sister Kaliza is busy running the kingdom after their mother's death, but all Thea can do is think of everything she has lost, including her dream of becoming a crow rider. When Kaliza is forced to agree to a marriage between Thea and the Crown Prince of Eleusia, Thea is finally spurred into action, and after stumbling upon a hidden crow egg in the rumble of a rookery? Is that the right word? I don't know if I said that right. She and her sister devise a dangerous plan to hatch the egg in secret, while joining forces with the other conquered kingdoms to ignite a rebellion. So very interesting that so far both of our young adult books deal with grieving the death of a mother. Very interesting. Still so excited for this one. I hope it lives up to how beautiful the cover is, and I'm just so excited. Up next is a book that, when it was initially published and reviews were going around many years ago, there was some controversy about it. I honestly can't remember what it was. So I'm going to go into this as a reader, giving it a shot, giving it just an unbiased opinion, because I don't remember what the controversy was, but I'm going to do my due diligence, and after I write my own review, I'm going to go look up other reviews and see if I can find what was being talked about. So I make sure that I include those points as well and see if I naturally and inherently picked up on those. Also, at the time that I picked this book, my circumstances were much different in life. So the next book is Lycanthropy and Other Chronic Illnesses by Kristen O'Neill. When I selected this book off of NetGalley, I myself was not chronically ill at the time. So now that I am, I think it will be very interesting to read this story. I love werewolves, I love shifter stories, so I'm really excited to dive into that. But I can't remember if it was like if there was ableism in this that was uncomfortable for people or if it was a race issue. Like I said, I don't remember. I just remember there was some sort of discussion and controversy when the reviews were first coming out for this. So we'll go into it, we'll see what happens. It says, Teen Wolf meets emergency contact in this debut young adult novel about friendship and the hairy side of chronic illness. Priya worked hard to pursue her pre-med dreams at Stanford, but a diagnosis of chronic Lyme disease during her sophomore year sends her back to her loving but overbearing family in New Jersey, and leaves her wondering if she'll ever be able to return to the way things were. Thankfully, she has her online pen pal Bridget, and the rest of the members of the Oof Ouch My Bones, a virtual support group, that meets on Discord to crack jokes and vent about their own chronic illnesses. I'm also in a Discord for chronic illness, so that's really funny. Um, when Bridget suddenly goes offline, Priya does something out of character. She steals the family car and drives to Pennsylvania to check on her friend. Priya isn't sure what to expect, but it isn't the horrifying creature that's shut in the basement. With Bridget nowhere to be found, Priya begins to puzzle together an impossible but obvious truth. The creature might be a werewolf, and the werewolf might be Bridget. I'm going to leave it there as the synopsis does go on a little bit more, but definitely intrigued to read this one, to see what's going on, and to see how I feel about it now as a person with chronic illness. So, on the list. Moving over into the adult romance category of this section, up first is The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Ali Waxman, the author of The Garden of Small Beginnings. This book, I recently read the synopsis again when I was trying to pick which books I was going to select from the library. Sounds like if someone just wrote me as a character. Like, it sounds so good. So let's read the back of it together. A young woman supremely confident in her own shell. The only child of a single mother, Nina has her life just as she wants it. A job in a bookstore, a kick-butt trivia team, and a cat named Phil. If she sometimes suspects that there might be more to life than reading, she just shrugs and picks up a new book. When the father Nina never knew existed suddenly dies, leaving behind innumerable sisters, brothers, nieces, and nephews, Nina is horrified. They all live close by. They are all, or mostly all, excited to meet her. She will have to speak to strangers. And as if that was not enough, Tom, her trivia nemesis, has turned out to be cute, funny, and deeply interested in getting to know her. Does he not realize what a terrible idea that is? So this also talks a lot about different anxiety and loving books and loving just being on your own. That's something I so deeply relate to and have struggled with a lot in the past. There were even days when I would text my best friend and would struggle to go drive to my library to pick up books before I ended up getting a job there. And to just think of how far I've come in so many years is really like my own personal character arc, and I'm really excited to watch Nina's character arc through this story. Up next is the first book in this haul that I've actually finished since getting these books a few days ago. It's Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. 5 out of 5 stars. This story was incredible. If honestly, I don't know if the Bridgerton books were already out when this was published. The show definitely wasn't out. So this was in a way like ahead of its time, because if you love Bridgerton, if you love Pride and Prejudice, you need to pick this up. You need to try it out. Evie Dunmore is definitely one of my new favorite authors. They did have 2 other books from this series at my library when I picked this one up. So I think once I finish this Neck Alley challenge, or when I take a break, I'm definitely going to go back and get those because I loved this book so much. I am going to be doing a review of it very soon in video form. Actually, this morning I posted my written review on all of my social media. That is my blog, my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Lemonade account. Also on Neck Alley, also on Goodreads. So all the places book reviews go. My book review was posted today, but I do want to do a video review as well. I don't know if I'm going to do it today or another day. We'll have to see. But let me read the back instead of giving too much away. England, 1879. Brilliant but destitute, Annabel Archer is one of the first female students at Oxford University. Her scholarship demands that she recruit men of influence to champion the rising women's suffrage movement. Her target, the cold and calculating Duke of Montgomery, commander of Britain's politics. But Montgomery wouldn't be the kingdom's greatest strategist if he couldn't turn the tables and confront Annabel with an altogether different offer. Locked in a battle with rising passion and impossible attraction, Annabelle will learn just what it takes to topple a duke. It was so good. I was like this, smiling so hard my face hurt the entire time I was reading this. There was no part that was boring. It was just incredible. please, if you like historical fiction, if you like romance, give this one a try. Last but not least on the historical fiction front is Lions of Fifth Avenue by Fiona Davis. This is another one that when I requested this copy, I did actually almost finish it. I was really close to being done. I do remember a majority of this story. I remember it being a little slower paced because this is very slice of life, a little bit of mystery and intrigue, very much historically based, and not as much driven by romance or anything like that because our main character is married and has her family. So let's read what the inside synopsis says. My goodness, my voice is like not how it normally is. I'm kind of losing my voice today. So if I sound a little funny and not like my normal self, I'm trying to not lose it any more than I already have. So it's 1913, and on the surface, Laura Lyons couldn't ask for more out of life. Her husband is the superintendent of the New York Public Library, allowing their family to live in an apartment within the grand building, and they are blessed with 2 children. But headstrong, passionate Laura wants more, and when she takes a leap of faith and applies to the Columbia Journalism School, her world is cracked wide open. Oh my gosh. As her studies take her all over the city, she is drawn to Greenwich Village's New Bohemia, where she discovers the Heterodoxy Club, a radical all-female group in which women are encouraged to loudly share their opinions on suffrage, birth control, and women's rights. Soon, Laura finds herself questioning her traditional role as wife and mother. But when valuable books are stolen back at the library, threatening the home and institution she loves, she's forced to confront her shifting priorities head on and may just lose everything in the process. So, interestingly enough, Bringing Down the Duke also discusses women's suffrage movement, just the discussion is from Britain instead of in the US. So, really interesting that these books have that in common, and then also interesting that these are dealing with a library as well as, this one. So I definitely have a theme of things that I enjoy reading, if you couldn't tell. Up next, and my last library book, is actually 2 books we're going to talk about, because the first book, I actually have a physical ARC as well as the electronic ARC. It's The Forgotten Kingdom by Sign Pike, and then from my library I had to check out The Lost Queen by the same author. So I'm not going to read the synopsis for this book because spoilers, but I will read the synopsis for this one. Obviously, I have both of these arcs from NetGalley, which was amazing. I think at the time the second book was coming out, so I was able to get an arc of the second book and then also request the first book so that I wouldn't be going in, obviously, in the middle of a series. So let's read what this is about because I honestly don't remember. I think it's fantasy, but it could be more historical fantasy or historical fiction. I really don't remember. So here we go. Memory is a danger. It unlocks the door to madness. The year is AD 573. Lai Locken has just survived the Battle of Arderid, one of the bloodiest civil conflicts in Scottish history. Oh, these names. Langareth, his twin sister, is imprisoned in her own home, tortured by the lack of news. Her husband and firstborn son have ridden off to war against her brother and the men her son admires most, Uther Pendragon's dragon warriors. Her 9-year-old daughter was apprenticed to Lalokin, training to be a wisdom keeper. Who has lived and who has died? As the winds of battle scatter Langlareth's loved ones to the far corners of Scotland, bitter rivalries are ignited, lost loves are found, new loves are born, and old enemies come face to face with their reckoning in this intensely absorbing, relentlessly compelling new look at one of the most enduring legends of all time. And then some of the blurbs on the back say Outlander meets Camelot, but with the focus firmly on the lives and loves of women. That sounds so good. Perfect for readers of historical fiction and lovers of fantasy like Outlander. And that is like probably the reason I picked this up initially, is because I read, I think, the first 3 books in the Outlander series before it got a little outlandish, if you will, and I just decided to put a halt to it because it became my special interest, and then the show came out, and that was also my special interest, and I was diving too deep that it got a little unhealthy for me. So I said, you know what? I'm happy with leaving the story where it is, and I haven't looked back since. But I clearly love that time period. I clearly love that setting and characters like that. So really excited to dive into another sort of historical, potentially fantasy if we're talking about Pendragon, and it's like Arthur Pendragon but with a U because Scottish. And yeah, interested to see what these 2 books will bring about. There you have it. That is my first official library book haul to begin my NetGalley challenge. I am doing a sort of vlog style video on the side as well for this NetGalley challenge, and I'm hoping to just keep it going as I finish books, and it'll be like a behind the scenes look with then dedicated videos to library hauls and book reviews in addition. So keep an eye out for more bookish videos here on my channel, in addition, of course, to my regular K-pop content that I love making for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!